is also a landmark achievement for the transatlantic economy and a stepping stone to an integrated transatlantic market, something I've been advocating for a long time, and I'm proud that this Commission is taking the necessary steps in that direction.
This is a big deal. Indeed, it is the biggest deal our country has ever made. This is a historic win for Canada. It means access for Canadian businesses to 500 million affluent customers, and thus to thousands of jobs for Canadians.
There are calculations that we can see an increase then of 24% for European export to Canada, or equivalent to 17 billion euro. So that's a lot. And most important part of this is from services and from NTBs. And it's also very important for the next coming TTIP between EU and US.
And they're hiding it, they're camouflaging it, they're not talking about it. Coordination of international regulation. What they are going to do is to put our Fed and our SEC under the control, in effect, of the IMF.
Oh, come on.
They're going to take this. That's what was in the draft agenda. They call it coordination of regulation. What it really is putting the American economy under international regulation. Yeah. And those people who have been yelling, oh, the UN's going to take over global
conspiracy theories.
They've been crazy, but now they're right.
Yeah, well, when Geithner said he would be open to the idea of a global currency last week, those conspiracy people had said and suggested that for years. You're not wrong.
And you know, it's what they always do at these conferences is they have the center show is here, and the side show they don't want you to pay attention to.
Right.
The center show is the size of the stimulus packages.
Yeah.
The real show is international regulation of the financial institutions, which is going to happen under the IMF control. And remember, the IMF is run by Europeans, the World Bank by Americans.
VicMorris.com. Thanks, Vic. Appreciate it.
Out of London of Prince William, knighting people in that first appearance as full-time royal this morning at Buckingham Palace. It's a big change from life as a search and rescue pilot, and one William looks like he is fully embracing. At Buckingham Palace this morning, sword in hand, Prince William took part in his first investiture ceremony. Standing in for his grandmother, the Queen, the Duke of Cambridge granted knighthood and handed out medals to the likes of Wimbledon champ Andy Murray.
Mr. Andrew Murray for services to tennis.
Just another sign that the new father and future king is shifting into life as a full-time royal.
The fact that it's the first time William has done this, I think, is significant. It's a very senior duty. To do an investiture, I mean, this moment is the highlight of these people's lives who are receiving these honours.
Today's pomp and circumstance was a big change from the last 7.5 years he spent with the Royal Military as Flight Lieutenant William Wales. Before leaving the Royal Air Force in September, Prince William spent 3 years as a search and rescue pilot, taking part in 156 missions and 149 rescues, a job he relished.
I don't think there's any greater calling in life for someone to be able to see a son or daughter's face when you bring their father or mother back from the edge of death and to hospital and they're coming, and it's quite powerful.
Since the birth of his son George, Prince William has focused on his charitable interests, including protecting endangered species. And he's ramping up for even more royal responsibilities.
So while he is taking on this investiture, and it is a significant step, it doesn't mean that we're going to see him do 400 engagements this year. He's going to slowly start upping his engagements.
He's looking good, very comfortable in the role.
Death could take you away. It's never guaranteed that you'll see the next day. At night, the evil armies of Shaitan don't play. So defend the family, that's the code to obey. But if I fall asleep and death takes me away, don't be surprised, son, I wasn't put here to stay at night. The evil army of Shaitan don't play. So the family sits together.
Well, could this happen here on November 1st? The Department of Homeland Security says, yes, it can. It's spending $80 million to batten cities down. You won't believe why, though. Like Greece. November 1st could be a very, very, iffy kind of a day. And I'm not just talking about what many in the Catholic Church view as All Saints Day. This could be all hell breaks loose day. The Department of Homeland Security is spending $80 million on a raft of armed guards to protect the IRS and other government buildings in New York. Not from terrorist threats, mind you, but from American citizens, because on November 1st, the food stamp program is set to start decreasing the amount that is allocated to food stamp recipients. Not all, but a good many, and they're worried that violence will ensue. TeaParty.net chief strategist Nigel Innes says, like Greece, violence is a serious concern when entitlements are threatened. And Nigel, I guess they're preparing for the worst. Should they be?
Well, this is really frightening. I mean, we are on a slow march to becoming Greece. You know, what this says more than anything is that when you have nearly 50 million Americans on food stamps that are forced to be on food stamps because of a miserable economy that big government is strangling, then you have a situation where it's obvious what government can give to you, government can take away.
But you know what's odd about this, Nigel, is no one is having anything taken away at this point. Some might see the allocation of their food stamps rearranged, reprioritized, reduced very slightly, but nothing at this point that just strips the stamps from them. So let's say, I don't know how it works, if I have $75 worth of food stamps and I have $70, let's say, they are expecting riots over that. Should they be?
Well, you know, I don't know that they should expect riots this cycle. But if we do not radically change our economy and revamp our economy so that those 50 million people, nearly 50 million people, have an opportunity to be liberated from food stamps, forget $75 versus $70 versus $65. Right. What these people need is economic opportunity and a good job so they can put food on their own table. You know, Neil, the slaves had food stamps too. It was called scraps from Massa's table. And we have a crisis within our country right now when you have the 50 million people, nearly the entire West Coast, three states on the West Coast of the United States, on food stamps. That's the real outrage, and that's the real crisis.
To say nothing of about 100 million Americans who get some sort of food assistance. Now, I'm not begrudging the fact that there are some who genuinely need that help, and we should help them. But it's gotten so out of control now that if it keeps going at this pace, of course, everyone will be on it. But that begs the next question, whether we've become such an entitlement society and such an entitlement-expected society that when they're even slightly curbed, well, we heard it from Richard Trump at the AFL-CIO, when it comes to addressing even the growth of entitlements, they'll be held to pay on any Democrat who dare tries. So it doesn't look like we'll ever get out of this.
And we have to get out of this. I mean, we are on a slow march to being Western Europe, a socialized Western Europe, big government state where people have not only on entitlements but have an entitlement mentality. And I'm not blaming the people that want these entitlements, or in many cases might even be addicted to these entitlements. I'm saying they are victims and need to be liberated. Look, most of these folk that I talk to every day, they don't want to be on welfare. They don't want to be forced to be in a predicament where they have to use food stamps or food assistance. They want a good job. So we need to liberate this economy so that we can revive this economy to provide jobs, take the boot off the private sector so that the private sector can do what it does best, which is create economic opportunity, not just jobs, but economic opportunity for people that might want to be entrepreneurs and provide jobs.
Yeah, you gotta give people that opportunity without, indenturing them to these programs. Nigel, thank you very, very much.
Just walk in the streets, death could take you away. It's never guaranteed that you'll see the next day. At night, the evil armies of Shaitan don't play. So defend the family, that's the code to obey. But if I fall asleep and death takes me away, don't be surprised, son, I was in play.
Everything is falling down. Everything is falling.